It's the 10 Cut Commandments.
What up, world? You are now tuned in to Barber World TV, the podcast. I am your host, Kamal Nuru, a.k.a. Zoe Mega Millions. The blade to your fade, the ends to your bends, and the cheers to your shears. I'm here with my brother. I mean, we go way back. First Ave, stand up, Spanish Harlem, James the Barber.
James the Barber.
What's good, brother?
I'm chilling, man. Getting old. That's the one good thing about the business I'm in. I can get old, man. If I was in hip hop, boy, they'd have tossed me in the gutter.
Right. So tell our listeners, that may not know about you, but not know about your crew. Well, let's start from the beginning.
Let's start from the beginning.
Where you from, brother?
Spanish Harlem. No, I was born and raised in Spanish Harlem. I'm of Puerto Rican descent. I got a little Caribbean in me, about a quarter Caribbean in me on both sides of my family, my mom and my dad's side. And but I was just first generation born here in the United States, and
you're a New Eurekan.
I'm a New Eurekan, which is really important because historically, that's what they call us. The people on the island, you really can't say you Boricua unless you was born there.
Yeah.
They say you Puerto Rican, you're New Eurekan.
Where English is your first language.
Exactly, which my mother really pushed. A lot of Spanish families don't push that. Mm-hmm. She pushed that because she said when you speak to somebody, they're not going to try to, be prejudiced towards you because of your accent. And,
right.
And it worked.
Yeah.
But then when I got older, it hurt me when I couldn't speak Spanish, right?
Yeah, they're like, what kind of Puerto Rican are you, right?
What kind of Spanish you speaking, bro?
Right, so you grew up in Harlem, Spanish Harlem. We let the people know, both grew up in the same area, Metro North, First Avenue.
First Avenue, 101,
Spanish
101,
Harlem.
That's right.
And tell them how you came to barbering.
How I came to barbering. They say poverty is the mother of all invention. Up at school, party was coming up. I got them curly curls. I ain't got them no more. I had them curly curls.
Right.
And I said I needed a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm going to try and trim my joint by myself.
Right.
Because we couldn't get a car to go into the city to get a haircut. Mm-hmm. Because we had to go to the city to get a haircut. That's where we can get it for $5, $7.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My man cut us up or whatever.
Right.
So I cut my hair, walked into the party. My man was like, I thought you was going down. I thought you was going to tell me if you cut hair. I said, no, I did it myself. He said, what?
Uh-huh.
Are you crazy? He said, trim me up. I helped him out. And it was just from going to the barbershop all the time, growing up around the barbershop. I just knew to go against the grain,
right,
with the grain or whatever. Next thing you know, man, I'm in school and this dude said, yeah, so you cut so-and-so's hair. How much you charge?
What school was this?
This was in Old Westbury. This is when I was in college. I'm a freshman in college. Mm-hmm. Actually, I think I was a sophomore. No, I was a freshman in college. Mm-hmm. And they said, yo, you cut Brian's hair, man. How much you charge? I was like, just buy me a beer or something,
Right.
Next thing I know, he brought his man. I was the campus barber, and I just learned, messing people's. I remember cutting an afro, guard fell off. He had a big hole in his head.
Yeah.
We put glue in his head.
A lot of barbers were born at their college campus room.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. My son, he's a freshman in college. He started cutting hair. He says, "Yo," I started teaching him when he was young because he wanted to learn.
Right.
And he was rarely calling me for money. He said on a Thursday night when there's the parties. He was already cutting hair, and he had made a little $40 in his pocket for a college student. He was rich.
Right.
He had beer money and the entrance to the party.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I felt like I was rich.
Well, that's the one good thing about barbering. When I started to really get serious about it, an old man told me, you'll never be rich, but you'll never be poor. And wherever you go, you'll be able to work.
Yeah. That's true. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. That's the one good thing about barbering. But I was always interested in it.
Right.
And I really liked it. And I found out later on when I got interested in. My grandfather was a barber earlier in his days, and and my great grandfather did it, and so forth and so on. But and then I just really liked it. It's sort of like catapults you into artistry, which is really, what a lot of people don't realize, that there was a lot of barbers, and back in the day, the barber quartet. It's a very artistic industry, $1 billion industry, maybe even more now.
Right.
But there's a lot of artistic flair to it, which is where you and I became, affiliated with each other. I was like, hey man, I see you blazing them blades. I got to get you over into this shop. He was doing all the different styles and the designs, and I was like, whoa.
For those that don't know, I was working on the west side of Harlem at West Side Barbershop. My mentor was Gene Walker, and James was always trying to get me to come on the east side. He was like,
9.5 months it took me.
Come on the east side, man. You closer to home. You could walk to work. You could cut the guys from the block. So I worked in an old traditional barbershop, and Mr. Willie, he would take 2 weeks off every summer, and close down the shop. That's what they did back. Things that you would never even hear that these days. Yeah. But he ran it like a business, and I was there probably in my second year being there. He shut it down for the 2 weeks, and I said, okay, I'm gonna go over to the east side and cut, and that's when we went to Ray's joint.
Yeah.
And I cut over there for 2 weeks, and I decided to stay. Not so much because it was close to home, but sometimes you just want to get away from your mentor. You know what I'm saying?
That's how you're gonna grow. That's how you can see if you can really fly.
Yeah, I got tired of kind of being under the wing, and he was like my father in the barbershop. And you come to a point where you just want to go out and do your own thing. And,
absolutely, same thing happened with me and Ray.
Right.
Ray, I started to see his, you get to a point where they teach you everything they know, and then you start to see their fallacies.
Yes.
And it's the same thing that happens with a son and a father.
Right.
You start to see your hero, you start to see the mistakes,
ugly
side. You start to realize that I've come to my own, but it's a very dangerous point in your life. A lot of men don't know. Yeah. And that's where, if you haven't read, you should read up on the Icarus. Mm-hmm. If you're a hip hop fan, Eric B., right. And Rakim made a reference to it. I must have got you too hot and burnt off your wings.
That's right. And
people don't really know that, but that's what really happens. So you got to know when to fly as high as you can, but not to burn off your wings.
That's right.
Icarus, that's a strong, strong thing in our world that we know of music, and it translated into life.
Right. So, how many years were you cutting hair? And just to go over it quickly again, what was the name of the shop and how long did you work there?
Okay, well, I started off, believe it or not, in another shop on 106th Street. My actual daycare teacher, I was in a daycare center. She had a shop, and she gave me a shot. I told her, listen, I was cutting hair at my school. I had been cutting hair in my school about maybe 2 years, year and a half. And Ray was there. Ray knew me. He used to cut my hair. And he says to me, oh, you know how to cut? Well, bring somebody in. Let me see you cut him. And
that was the Spanish lady that worked with Ray on 106th and 2nd?
Well,
that one?
The Spanish lady worked with him, but the owner was in the back.
Oh, okay. Right.
And she did the old school, put the hot iron in the iron to cook it, and and she gave me a shot, and I was making decent money. She did it on a percentage, which is hardly ever around here. Well, a lot of some of the other shops on the west side do it, but that's because they getting all the money from it. But long story short, that's when I started. That was 1988. 88. I wasn't even old enough to really, I don't know, how it is now, but I wasn't even really old enough to go places, get into places. I was like 18, 19 years old,
Right.
And I don't want to tell you my age, but but that's where I started my professional barber. And then, he took me under his wing. He said, I'm going to show you how to do things a little bit easier. I was a one clipper guy. I was doing the lines with the clipper and everything.
Right.
And I knew how to use the scissors. He was impressed because he said, how'd you learn it? I said, I learned how to do the scissors when I was younger because I was, the barber that I got interested from, he passed away a long time. He was from 102nd and 2nd Avenue. Anyway, he saw potential in me. He goes,
what was his name? I've been there. I got my hair cut there before.
I forgot his name.
Juan or something like that?
Juan was his name.
Yeah.
Juan was his name. And he used to teach me a lot of stuff, man. He taught me about the blade. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really a in thing when I first started. And a lot of my black clients or my African American clients, they didn't want the razor to their face. Yeah. And it was until I learned later on when I started to progress, learning how to avoid getting those bumps and stuff like that, and taking care of your skin and so forth and so on. But he was impressed, and he helped me out. And I don't even think it had a name, man. I think it was just the barbershop, And then he said, listen, I'm about to make a move. She wants more money from us. Miss Barber wants more money from us. And, I was going from a 70-30 split. Mm-hmm. She wanted 60-40.
Right.
And, that's about the standard, especially if, if she put up the money, my license and everything.
Right.
And I was like, I was a little upset because now, I was the only one generating a lot of clients in there. So I was like, well, she's trying to eat off of me. And you young whippersnapper, you're like, nah, man, you're not gonna take all my money. And the ego took over. He said, listen, I'm about to go somewhere else. So we wound up going a couple of blocks up to 110. It was called Celebrity East. Because he said, we can get celebrities in here. We can get basketball players in here.
Shout out to Ray, man.
Ray
and Yank. Ray and Yank, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
God rest his soul. Yank pass, yeah. So, I said I went over there. And I think I was there about 4 or 5 months. And his partner wanted to pull out. And he was like, listen, it's an opportunity to become a partner in the shop. I said, well, I ain't got to, I got $800 saved. I think I had $1,000 saved. That wasn't no money. I tell you what, we start making percentages, go in, pay little by little. Within a time period, you'll give me the 10 grand. I was like, 10 grand. To me, that was a lot of money. I was still living at home.
Yeah.
I was making $100 a day and spending $125 borrowing money from my mom to to make it back to work. So it was, and I was still in college. And, I said, you know what, I'll take a shot. And then, circumstances happen where, circumstances happen,
Yeah, shout out to Ray.
Ray, you know what? We spoke about it afterwards. He realized where he was wrong, and I realized where I let my young ego take over. That it wasn't a loyalty thing so much, but it was so much more like I could have reached out more,
Right.
And I wound up getting a shot by myself, and that's when I was pursuing you for 9 months, bro.
No, you was pursuing me even when Ray was in there.
That's right. We got you in for Celebrity East.
Right. But the crazy thing is that 2 things happened at that time. I remember you were the person who told me that the guy you working under, your master barber, he can sign for you to be his apprentice.
Right.
I remember you the one that told me that.
Right.
And I told it to him. And he wasn't even familiar.
Right.
So I got the paperwork and I did it and everything. And he signed and put his license number on there, but he didn't know. And that's how I got my apprentice license.
Okay.
Because you told me that.
Okay.
And the only thing when Ray lost the shop was that he lost all my pictures of my designs that Mr. Willie had paid for. They were in the window. And when he came in there and took all his stuff out at night,
middle of the night,
I lost my images.
Yeah, I lost a lot of pictures. I lost a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
People would dip it into my box and they took all.
Yeah.
But it was water under the bridge to me because I said, you know what? I came out with the shop by myself.
Right.
And I was a young kid, man.
Yeah.
I was maybe 20 years old, if that. 21, and I had my own shop.
Shout out to Thomas too and his family.
Yeah, and his mom is the one that gave me a shot. I went to her. She said, no, my sister wants to do a beauty salon, and then she pulled out, and then she was like, okay, what you gonna do? And I made the same deal with her, and I learned that deal from Ray.
Right.
Let me pay it off. Give me a year, and I'll give you the 10 grand that you want me to put up for the shop that you spent.
Right.
Because it was a lot less money. Now, they're spending $200,000, $300,000 on some shops, some salons. I mean, this is as I learned, as I went to different places, I learned.
Yes.
And she said, well, do you have all the papers? I said, well, these are the paperwork we have to get. And I wound up getting my master's license. I don't even remember how, because it was a totally different system back then.
Yeah, after 2 years, you can go and take your test. I didn't go right in them 2 years, but I eventually did go and take my test.
I think it was 18 months, if I'm not mistaken.
18 months. Well, yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
but they went back and forth with the physical. They went back and forth with the shampoo part of the test.
Right.
They've gone back and forth the whole time.
They signed off on me. They had me cut hair, took the test, and I just signed off.
Yeah.
And that's when I signed for Jerry to get his license and everybody else to get their license.
Once you got your master's.
Once I got my master's, and then I let it go because I started doing music.
Right. So how did you get into music? Now, well, first of all, let's tell the guys that you were a part of Ziggy.
Yes,
and Ziggy
absolutely.
started as a dance crew.
That's right.
We went to Japan together.
That's right. Well, that's when we formed. That's when we realized that we was actually a crew, and we was actually a group, and we was actually a thing.
And we put the Z's in the back of our head.
That's right. I still have. You know what? And I forgot to bring it. I have the magazine
from Japan to
the Men's Biggie.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, that was the point where we realized, hey, we got something here. Because we was just a crew. Hey, what's up? I remember us running out of a cab, because we didn't have enough money. And the guy was like, hey, that was, a $10, whatever. Long story short, it's just, we was just the thing. I still got my sneakers.
We used to, we used to kill the New York City club scene.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know that Talib, the DJ?
Yeah.
I had a bar, and I had him spinning a couple of nights.
Wow.
He's an awesome DJ, bro.
A lot of them. iTruth. You talking about iTruth?
No,
iTruth is a DJ too.
I had him one night also.
Yeah.
But I was gonna make a joke about a girlfriend, but we was young, man. We was young.
Yeah.
And that's when we knew, because they were the SOS dancers,
Yep.
and we were the jiggy dancers. But we was hanging out with the mop tops, and and that was the dance scene was a whole different thing.
Yes.
God rest her soul, Voodoo Ray, who they have something for
anniversary tonight.
And we was just all
Marjorie
dancing all
too.
over. That's right, Marjorie too. And you know what's funny? I'm gonna tell you something. Full circle. Voodoo Ray choreographed my first video.
Wow.
When I catapulted into DLG. Wow. So we was running around doing this jiggy thing, and even in my bio, people look at me like I'm crazy. I remind them of the song. They're like, "Yeah, I know that song." I was like, "Yeah, but where are you?" I'm Big Brother Poncho. Why you didn't keep the name? I said, "Well, my producer said he likes the other name better." I said, "Yeah, we was gonna work it out," and I was like, "Damn, I'm not on the first song." I caught my attitude and ego stuff.
Yeah, because you was there, and it just something that kind of happened. I think it was.
I went with my girlfriend, and y'all were mad. You was like, you wanted to chase your girl.
we were running with Special Ed, so we was around the MC all day.
That's right.
And then Kenny and Wayne, they were around YZ, and we kind of got influence from being around the MC and traveling, and it was just a great life. And then we got the opportunity to be part of it as MC, so we jumped on it. And somewhere along that line, you discovered James the Barber. How did you discover that?
I'm gonna make you laugh. We was, I remember waiting because you said, we couldn't do all the tracks, and I was gonna be on another track. And while we was waiting, we was still running around, and you guys were really seriously into the whole signing, the paperwork with Salam.
Right.
And that's when I was running with Sister Soldier. So I wound up going on tour with Sister Soldier, and I was a hype man. And, they're West Indian, and I used to tell them, they said, "You do West Indian?" I was trying to chat on the mic, and it was like, "Oh, you sound, you go," and we was joking around.
Right.
And then they said, imagine if you did it in Spanish. I was like, well, I don't really know Spanish that well, enough to do it like them guys that do it out in, Central America.
Right.
I don't know. Next thing I know, I was running around the city promoting parties with Adam Torres, who does Adam Torres concerts.
Yep.
And I was running around with Ted Smooth,
Yep.
and I became his hype man. And then, I was doing some stuff in Spanish, and I was doing some stuff and trying to do my little reggae stuff, and and it impressed a producer who is the premier producer in Spanish music, who's Mark Anthony's producer.
What's his name?
His name is Sergio George.
Sergio
George. And he grew up in Spanish Harlem too. He's from Johnson.
Yeah. You were
something
right
in the water.
there. You was
We was all
Mark
together.
Anthony, everybody. Just
Mark
right
Anthony was
there.
across the street from us.
Exactly.
Frankie Cutlass across the street from us.
That's right, across the street.
Changing
Shout out to
faces.
Shake.
Cassandra, she was in our building.
That's right.
So we was all in the same area. KL from this freestyle Spanish music. He was up the block on Lexington. Anyway, we just wound up. I wound up going into a studio like this, and we was actually trying to push some dudes that we knew to do some rapping.
Right.
They heard me on the mic. They was like, "Yeah, forget those dudes. We want to talk to this kid." So they spoke to me about being a guest artist on a major Latin singers, record. And I said, "Hell yeah!" I was gonna do it for free. And they said,
was
"Okay."
this singer?
His name was Tito Nieves.
Tito Nieves.
So everybody knows that Cardi B has a big hit. I like it like that. He's the
That's
one that
right.
really made that song big in the early '90s.
Right.
Yeah,
That was a theme song.
baby.
Then they made a movie.
They made a
based
movie
off that song.
That's
too.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's actually a remake from earlier, from a Boogaloo days.
Wow.
So a lot of people don't know. So I got on and I went on tour with him, and I was a little crazy, still young whippersnapper. I was early 20s, maybe 22, 23 years old. And, next thing you know, he was telling me, "Listen, I'm thinking about doing something." And then circumstances in my life changed. My pops passed, my mom passed. And then he was like, "It's about that time that we do this thing. What you want?" I said, "I'm here. I ain't got nothing to do. I'm trying to cut hair and survive, and I was living good because I was making a lot of money per week cutting hair.
Right.
So cutting hair was the basis of my life,
It's just time consuming.
You know what? You just got to be there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we've always spoke about it. Just got to be there.
That's right.
We try to tell Randy that. Remember that?
Yeah.
We said, Randy, you just got to be there.
Randy was never going to be a barber.
Listen.
Shout out to Randy.
Randy, let me tell you something, man. I grew up with Randy in junior high school and everything. And, Randy had so many opportunities. He just had things handed to him.
I know. I mean, even after all his falls, he's still... he's track coach at Stuyvesant. I'm like, how the hell you get the track coach? I know you was a track athlete. And all that,
dude, he had a Division I scholarship to Ohio State.
Yeah.
You just got to be there.
Yeah.
And those are the characteristics that barbers have to have, the consistency. And again, it taught me a lot of stuff about being consistent in music too.
Right.
Because we became the premier, that shop, A Cut Above, became the premier shop in Spanish Harlem, and people started traveling from Virginia, Jersey, just to come see us. If it wasn't for you, for me, for Jerry, and we just became the basis of where's the next spot? Where are we gonna be at?
Right.
And we used to all meet at Cut Above to get ready to go downtown to go dance our butts off.
We used to play hard, work hard and play hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wound up meeting up Sergio. Sergio wasn't big yet; he had just done Mark Anthony. I had met him before when Mark Anthony was trying to get the deal, and I knew him because he was from Stanley Isaacs, and then when he turned like 13 or something, no, he was in Johnson. When he turned like 15, 16, they moved to Stanley Isaacs. So I knew him. I knew him as the music geeky kid, and he's not that much older than us, but he's older than us, and he said, I think you got the it. I don't think you could rap, but you got the it. You got that factor,
and that's what's important.
And I became more famous for a mistake on a song than anything else. People see me to this day and they come to me, no more de da, because I brought that whole like hip hop reggae vibe to the Spanish music, and it was a mistake. You know how we like, yeah. I was like, no more de, and he liked it, and he says, yeah, that's it. You're not gonna say no words. I was like, you crazy? Like I got flow. He said, all right, we'll put the flow. I put my lyrics, but I became more famous for just doing that.
Right.
And he saw that in me. And then, my stage performances, believe it or not, he knew about the jiggy stuff. And he had seen some of the stuff. And he says, that your biggest asset is that you get on stage like a Madonna, which was his way of saying you're not that really good singer, but you could dance.
Right.
And I learned it. So I became, after a couple of years, that's when I really, formulated my rap skills and my reggae skills and my balancing it with the dancing, and I can still do it. 300 pounds and all, I'm still up on stage.
You've always been light on your feet.
Yeah, well, that was that football. I always played football, so I was always like, even when I was dancing with you, I was always the big dude, and I was always able to do stuff.
And it made you special though, because a lot of big guys can't move like that.
Right,
even in the videos with DLG, you still was like the best dancer.
Yeah, it's true. And Adam and Sergio always say that's that jiggy in you.
Yeah,
you know. And it was crazy because after I recorded with Tito Nieves, he wound up saying, you know what, I want you to go and go on stage with him, Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. And again, my mentality is, I'll go do it.
Right.
When they told me, okay, so we're gonna pay you $300 for the rehearsal, and then you're gonna get $500 for the 10 seconds you're gonna be out there, but we'll give you an extra, $3. I was like, extra? What? You giving me money? Are you serious?
Right.
I was like, where the dancing at? Where the dance? I was ready to go, bro. And I got, and he needed something. Tito needed something because Mark Anthony was on that bill, and Mark Anthony was gonna blow. But we wound up, and my mother saved that article. Thank God, God bless her dead. She was able to see the beginning part of my career, and she saved the article where they mentioned that how my performance with Tito Nieves helped him to sustain, sustainability in the genre with a new guy coming, kicking butt and taking names. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what became my forte. I was the dancer. I could do a little bit of reggae. I could do a little bit of singing. I could do a little bit of everything. And
right. Do you get credit? I wouldn't say that you created reggaeton, but you were way early.
Yeah,
on that reggaeton. And do you get any credit for that? At least you was early on that reggaeton in New York.
Yeah,
I know they might have been doing it in Panama and other places, but in New York.
So I'm going to tell you something that's funny because in Panama and in Central America, they were doing Spanish reggae.
Right.
So terminology is everything. Reggaeton is really what they named it in Puerto Rico.
Right.
So now in the early 90s, they were doing the reggaeton in what they call macasinas. Macasinas is a garage. So they used to have these garage parties, so a garage band.
Right.
And they used to have these parties where over reggae beats. They called it a dembo beat because that's all the song. Dembo. And it's funny because one day I was on a radio station out there and I told them what it meant. And they were like, huh? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I love to give the music lesson because remember, that was my minor. Puerto Rican studies was my minor. Mm-hmm. And it was funny, but I was the one that brought it onto major radio. Mm-hmm. Without a doubt, hands down, nobody could say they did it. Yeah. Because they were popping, but they wasn't popping anywhere outside of Puerto Rico, really, and outside on major radio. And everybody said I was crazy. And like I said, I brought a track to Salam, and I also brought up, Sean Pecas. Shout out to Sean Pecas. Uh-huh. And he was like, I don't know if it's gonna really, pop. And I was like, dude, this is the. And on that album, which and I taught them about publishing and everything. I'm about teaching and getting money.
Right.
On that album, I got the publishing on it. Mm. So if anybody knows, I'm sure they do. One of the biggest songs on that album, because it was 4 of us that owned that album. It was me, Danny, Raul, and me, Danny, Raul, and I forgot his name. He's the one that really brought the artist. Oh my God, I just drew a blank because I'm excited.
Come back later.
It'll come back. And the name of the album was called MVP. Okay, and the biggest song on there was Dale, Dale, Don Dale, pa que se mueva lo yale, actívalo. So that was the biggest song, and that was like the first song that was on major radio. Mm-hmm. I brought it to them with my name. I said, look, I got this reggaeton. It's about to pop. I'm telling you, trust me, guys. They were like, well, we know it's making noise, but why you think it's? I said, I'm telling you, the genre has changed. They wanted to hear my song. I was like, yo, my song is nowhere near as good as them. Mm-hmm. And it's the Same song I brought to Sean Pecas and the same song I brought to Salam.
Right.
I brought it actually with a Salam beat on it because, that's what we did. We used to sample beats.
Yeah.
And I had to wind up doing an original beat because I couldn't pay the publishing on Salam. So, but I brought it to them and they wanted to hear my song. I said, my song is all right. They played. I said, but this is the hit. And my partners, Gocho's the other guy's name. So my partner was like, no, we want to push Angel y Chris, which was their artist. And I was like, that's not the hit, bro. Trust me, that's not the hit.
At least you kept it real. You tried.
And we were sponsored. That was the first time I brought sponsorship because I brought Shivers Regal. And they paid for the video, and they paid for a couple of things. They gave us free bottles and stuff like that. I started bringing the American market towards them. Right. And I brought them Daladon. It was like, wow, this is power. And then they didn't want to push Zion and Lennox. And Zion and Lennox, that was their first record. I pushed them because they was my peoples.
Right.
And next thing you know, they started playing it, and they were like, reggaeton is it.
Right.
I wanted to become a head of A&R for Sergio George's label because we had already broken up. DLG broke up in 2000. So
before we go back, tell me about how did DLG form?
Okay.
Where did the name come from? What does the name mean for those that don't know?
Okay.
So tell me, let's talk about
Let's start
DLG.
it off from the beginning. Okay, so like I said, I was in the studio. I met Sergio. Sergio said, I want to rock with you. My mom passed in April. I ran into him in July. In the South Street Seaport. Hey, what's up? You still, what's going on? I told you I wanted to do a project. I was like, I'm ready when you are. Right. I ain't got nothing to lose. I lost my money. He goes, I know, bro. I got you. He was already popping with La India, Mark Anthony, Tito Nieves. And he says, I got this singer, this song. Let's see if we could do it. I don't know if you know George Lamont. He's a freestyle singer. He also did some Spanish. Very prolific and very, major artist. One of the top tier artists in freestyle music, which is like that Latin, Spanish,
that's
English.
what people used to get mixed up with house music back in the day.
Exactly.
It's different.
It's big time different.
Yeah.
So it was his song, and we translated it into Spanish. And then he was like, I really want to do the solo thing. I've always been a solo thing. I don't want to be in a group. So we pushed the background singer up. Background singer was Huey Dunbar, who was found in that same time when he was looking for artists. And he had put him on tour with La India, and he put me on tour with Tito. So he was actually, formulating it years before, like about a year or two before. Okay. Next thing you know, he says, I'm doing a project, and the project is called DLG, the project DLG. DLG was the name of his studio. Oh. DLG stands for Dark Latin Groove. So it was Dark Latin Groove Studios.
Right.
And when we went to present it, Video Music Box was there. Mm-hmm. And they came, Sony Music was there, Wea Latina was there, which is Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. And they heard the 2 or 3 other artists that were there. Sony was like, we'll offer you everything. We'll offer you the whole draw for those 2 kids. Those 2 kids is DLG. Everybody else, they're the DLG project.
Right.
So it was the DLG project. And the name came actually from a song that Adam Torres did in 1988. He did a song called Dark Latin Groove. And Sergio liked the name so much, he was like, because they partnered up. It's like, it's going to be the name of my studio. It was a small studio up in the Bronx. He bought his first condo with the Mark Anthony check.
Right.
And he was like, I'm gonna use that name. Ran with it. Next thing you know, we was the DLG project. And the funny thing about it is that fast forward 20 years later, legalities have I can't really speak on them. I'll briefly talk about it later on, but there's some legalities. But in that first album, the way they worded the front cover helped me to win a case recently, because it says DLG featuring Huey. And it wound up being me being the face of DLG. Fast forward all these years, I've been carrying the name. I've been the foreman of the group.
Yeah, because I've seen a lot of faces change in the group beside yours.
I say it's like New York train. People come on and ride the train for a little while and they get off.
Right.
But I'm still conductor.
That's right.
And when we went to court recently, it was one of the major factors that we put forth was that I've been the face even before Huey was the singer, because we had a gentleman that dances also. I known him from the dance scene. His name was Ronnie. He was actually in the group, and he just didn't really believe it was going to pop off fast enough. So he sort of left right before we got our deal. And next thing I know, I went from cutting hair, and I remember you. I don't know if you know. Well, you do know. But I stopped working in the shop after I got shot. Remember when they shot up the barber shop? Right. I got hit in my leg. It wasn't we had nothing to do with my producer was like, listen, you're not working there no more.
Right.
Our shop was sacred. We never had an incident there. That was like the neutral ground. Even though all the battling guys, they would never, something happened outside, guy ran inside, and whatever happened,
right.
That was the day I couldn't work there no more. He says, you can't work. I said, well, how am I pay my rent?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was like, I got to pay my rent, bro.
Right.
That's cute and all that.
Right.
And he was like, well, we'll figure it out. And I believed in him. And I'm glad I did, because we wound up doing it.
So what was the name of the first album? How many
first
albums you did? Did you do, and what are the hit songs for
Okay.
those that might not know?
So the three, I did 3 albums with Huey Dunbar. The first album was called Dark Latin Groove, just self-titled.
Right.
DLG featuring Huey Dunbar. The second album was called Swing On, which has our biggest hits, but it doesn't have any accolades. So I got nominated for American Grammy on the first one and on the third one, which was called Gotcha. Because we swing on, our sophomore album, they thought it was gonna be sophomore jinx.
Right.
It sold even more. We were the first real Latinos. Actually, we did win an Emmy. We won an Emmy with the second album for station identification commercial we did. And which is big, major, because we were the only salsa group to ever win an Emmy for something like that. The third album we got nominated for an American Grammy also. Now, there was no Latin Grammys, so it was a pool of maybe 1,500 acts.
Wow.
That would be within the Latin genre, because
Right.
the Latin genre was so small in the Grammys. And then they broke it down to Tex-Mex, and then they broke it down to pop and bolero. And then it became a little bit of a smaller pool. So our pool, by the time our second nomination came, our pool was down to about maybe 750, 800.
Wow.
So the biggest hits on the first album was No Morirá and Muévete.
Yeah, Muévete. I remember that.
which we replayed something, and the original artist didn't really like it. His name was Willie Colon.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody knows about it. We took his hit,
Remixed it.
right? And we remixed it, changed the notes, so it was original. He was like, "Hey, you guys sort of took my stuff," I was like, "Hey, we remixed it, and we came up with a new hit, and those 2 hits and we were like a phenomenon. They couldn't believe that we had mixed reggae with salsa and added some R&B-ish stuff to it, and then the second album, my 2 biggest hits was La Quiero Morir and Juliana, which are our biggest hits ever. And to this day, those are my biggest checks.
Right,
every 3 months, my biggest checks.
So where did you go when it started to
Disintegrate.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the third album, we got nominated for a Grammy, but we was already breaking up. Our biggest hit on there was Volveré. We sort of toured we had obligation because we was really touring a lot. So we had an obligation for like almost 8 or 9 months that after we were broken up, that we had to finish those tours. We weren't even speaking to each other. We was arguing. You know how groups are.
Yeah.
We were arguing.
Our brothers are.
Yeah. We would be on stage, loving each other, hugging, high-fiving. We go in the room, we're not talking to each other, we're mad at each other, we get in the limo, we're not talking to each other. But, we had a common goal. So after that finish, I remember I was just like, what am I going to do now? I didn't know what I was going to do. I went from making, a lot of money per month. I don't know, I don't know how the American market is, but for me, making $30,000-$40,000 a month was a lot of money.
Right.
And I went from making that to like doing appearances, maybe a show here and there, and dwindled down to $10,000-$20,000 a month. And I was like, I don't know what I was gonna do. And that's when I was like, you know what? I really want to get involved with this reggaeton thing because I really believed in it. And that's when I went out to Puerto Rico, and I was living out in Puerto Rico again because I was living there during the DLG time.
Right.
And I said, I want to push this and I want to, catapult it into another realm because I think this is the next big thing. Sergio believed in me. After we came on with MVP, I became the head of A&R for his new label at Wea. And I signed a couple of big producers, a couple of acts. Everybody knows Nicky Jam now, and I chased him around the island for 48 hours trying to get him on a track. And this was before he was really big and hitting. I was also working for TR3, which is the Spanish like MTV thing.
Okay.
And I was doing some casting and stuff like that, and I just didn't really know what I was gonna do.
Right.
And everybody always asked me, well, why didn't you do your own solo thing? I said, because DLG was my heart and soul. I've always believed in it. I always said it. I always talked to Sergio about it. That was where I was going. That was me.
Right.
To separate from it, I didn't see it being separate because I just always believed that it had to be a combination of things. I'm a team player. That's how I think. I played football all my life.
Right.
I always believed that group things will always work better.
It's always going to be a Ralph Tresvant in every group.
Yeah. And that's what happened.
Same thing with the kid from High Five. And
yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens. And I don't knock anybody's hustle. I always wish them luck. And I always support them because even to this day, like me and Huey don't really talk and stuff like that, but I support him 100%. Would love for if he came back, I could retire, 2 lifetimes, to be honest with you, because the money now is a lot different. Back then we was getting paid a lot. I don't know how much people were getting, but we were getting $25,000 a show.
Right.
And, after paying out, I was coming home, and that was per show. We was going to country because we went all over the world.
Right.
And it's crazy when you go to Switzerland and half of the audience is all Swiss.
Right.
Some Latinos and all Swiss. You go to Japan, and outcasts want to come into the building where you at, say, why is there a crowd out here? We're supposed to be the biggest thing. Who's you guys?
Right.
So it was big to us. So
it's a whole nother market, man.
Yeah,
whole nother world.
And you can get old. Tito Puente was 77, still touring, and then he died. Same thing with Celia Cruz. She was 77.
Right.
Who I recorded with. I recorded Celia Cruz.
Wow.
And that was a big honor to me. I traveled. Tito gave me a lot. He said, as long as you're good with the people and you just give them a show, keep your nose clean, you'll be good. You'll work for the rest of your life. And he was right, man, 100%. You don't get old in Spanish music.
Right.
Is where I lucked out. I'm still young, but for the hip hop industry and the English industry, it's kind of rough. I could probably survive in the reggae industry because I know a couple of them dudes is a little bit older.
Right.
But hip hop, I can't. I can't.
The young man's game.
And even a reggaeton is really Americanized type mentality. So I couldn't compete with the little 19, 20-year-old Osuna. I got him by a couple of years. So
what do you think about that? What's the name of that big song that was just out?
Despacito.
Yes, Despacito.
So I'm gonna tell you something funny. That cat, he was running around with us. He was trying for a long time. So he has been out since the time I've been out. And our first hit came out fall of '95. It was on the radio in the world spring of '96. I was broke, couldn't pay my rent, and had the #1 song on the radio. That's the true stuff about music.
About entertainment,
and you have to grind it. Thank God I wasn't married, didn't have no kids. I just was grinding, hustling, doing what I had to do. And I remember my first check was I think it was like $10,000. You couldn't tell me I was rich. The first thing I did was went and bought a box of cigars. Hadn't done that in my lifetime. I said, I'm gonna go buy me a box of cigars. I just think that it was timing. At the time, and if people call it a hype and people listen to it and like it, it'll happen. So if you have the right promotion at the right time, when there's a void for something, and same thing with DLG, there was a void for some type of music for younger people. Yes. The reggaeton wasn't popping yet, bachata wasn't really. And I spoke to Aventura and and them before, and they really said, once you guys dropped out, we got the idea to really Americanize that bachata, but we had already recorded 2 years before that some bachata, and we put some hip hop-ish to it and stuff like that. And people don't even know we had those things already going, and they've admitted it in interviews that they saw us do it, and they were like, "Oh, you're not gonna do the music no more? We got this." Yeah, and they ran with the bachata, so we was like a pinnacle. Group for the Latin music. And
that's what happens.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be the first.
Right.
The first,
and these
never
guys
get the paper.
You don't get the real paper. You get paper, but you don't get the real paper.
Yeah, you see, though, that's just the way it is.
It is, but you know what? I'll tell you one thing. My accolades make me feel good. Like, we were in the Smithsonian Institute of Technology alongside Celia Cruz, Tito Puente, people of the most influential Latinos of Latin music of all time. Because we changed it. We really changed the game. And Despacito just was at the time, and he's been out since that time, 95, 96.
Sometimes it takes 10 years to make a hit.
10 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah. That's what they say.
And that's what they say. And the thing about it is, I remember I was working for TR3. We were doing the casting, and I was talking to Angie Martinez because we were casting her. And I remember Daddy Yankee telling me, "Yo, James, man, good looking out," because he knew that I was really pushing the reggaeton industry. I remember bringing him on stage when nobody knew who he was when we performed. It was a big concert in the Coliseum out there. It was us and the Fugees. And I said, "No, you got to listen to this guy, him and her." I brought Evie Queen up and I brought Daddy Yankee up, and they rocked the stage. The stadium almost fell down when they went on stage because they were on stage with Fuji. I said, "I got you, Yank. I got you." I introduced him to my road manager, Anthony Ramirez. I don't know if you know him. He worked over at Island and all that.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was really major influence in that whole Daddy Yankee Gasolina thing. And even to this day, I remember I was performing with him out in Belgium. He was like,
"Now your boy Nori." He said, "Yeah, I brought the reggaeton to America." I heard him say something like that.
Well,
he did a whole album, didn't he?
He did, and he did like a bilingual thing, and he was the first one to really do like the bilingual thing, which is cool. Him with Nina Sky and everything. I let everybody, I always say the people gonna nominate the real person. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So and I don't like to take no credit for nothing. You could say whatever you want to say about me. My checks say something different. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm getting checks I'm still getting money from 97, 90. Those checks still come in every 3 months. You know what I mean? And like I said, that sophomore album, they thought we was gonna have sophomore jinx. We had a third album nominated for a Grammy. Then we went dormant. I got a female in the group. And we have a South American dude who won the Voice out in South America. He was down with us before even the girl, and we got nominated for a Grammy for that. Then I won a Latin Grammy with that, and it was just the accolades are there. You know what I'm saying? And it's not because of who we know or what we know. It's actually because we actually brought artistry to it, and over the years learning how to do it. And I don't compare with myself with any kind of English market stuff. You know what I mean? Because they do what they do. I'm gonna tell you something funny. There was a point where I was like, I don't know what I was gonna do, and I said I'm gonna get into production, and I started working with Toogie. I didn't really like it, but I started working with Toogie, and one of the first videos we did was the video in the supermarket out in Jersey was a Nori video.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized I was like,
joint.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know if I could really work in production. They want me to start from the bottom, and I really couldn't do that.
Right.
I was ready to start. I was like, and that was a day or two before 9/11. I flew in from Africa just to. I had just done a show with Black Thought and Talib Kweli and a young lady named Butterfly. And we had just finished performing, and we were supposed to go to the stadium, and it was
Diggable Planets, Butterfly from Diggable.
No, she's a Latin poetess.
Okay.
And it's crazy because I knew something was gonna happen. My delegation stood out there because it was for the World Peace Conference, and I was like, "Nah, I'm coming home." They wanted to go to Kilimanjaro, and I said, "I'm coming home." I came home, I slept, because I had spent the day in Amsterdam because it's a long flight from South Africa. And I know we got home, and he was like, "Listen, if you want to, work," I said, "I want to check it out." I come, and the guy's like, "Who's this dude? Brand new truck. How you gonna work? Who's you?" Like, they're thinking I'm some kid gonna come on a train with a book bag, and I was like, "Nah, I have my, I'll pay for lunch, but."
Right.
I didn't fit, but I wanted to try. And I'm glad I did start doing it because I started to learn. I grew in that industry and I became a locations manager and so forth and so on. And I made a lot of money doing it, but it wasn't what I was what I really wanted to do. And the first video I did was that Nori video. And it was funny because I said, I've worked that video and I was like, oh my God, this is the most I've worked in years. I'm not doing this no more. And I woke up the next day and that's when that thing happened with 9/11, which is my birthday.
Yeah, that was
crazy.
Most of my artists, that was his birthday was the next day, and I lost my cousin in there, Dewan.
Wow. I lost a couple people that I went to school with in there, and a couple people I worked because afterwards, when I was doing the fourth album with Yaya, her name is Miss Yaya.
Yeah, Miss Yaya. Yeah. What's the state of DLG right now?
Right now, Miss Yaya wanted to do a little solo project.
Okay.
She did a little solo project. She's still doing work and some stuff. Brought her back.
She's beautiful too.
Beautiful girl, beautiful, great artist, amazing artist.
Yeah. She was, from what I saw, she was honored to be in the group.
Yeah,
when she got to the group.
Well, you behind stage, she'd be like, they still don't think I'm DLG. Stuff that women do. But the most important thing I told her was the demand was there for them to ask for you to come back and come do a song, and she had no problem. She came right back, and she's with us with the young Peruvian dude. His name is Curry George.
Curry George, and
he's amazing artist. And it's hard for me to keep up with him because he dances.
Okay,
so it's the first time I've had competition. So he's in it, and we're recording right now. There's a lot of paperwork stuff that's going down, and that's what's the delay. Everybody wants to get their piece of the pie because they know that sometimes it's short-lived, and I understand it totally.
Right.
But I know my worth, and I know what I'm capable of, what I need, and what I don't need. So I'm a little bit hard-headed too, and I'm gonna give you but so much because I've seen people get on the train and get off the train.
And you're a founding father of that
and using the name to catapult something else.
Right.
Which is the litigation I was telling you before.
Right.
The name is always been mine. You could try to trademark it. You could try to, claim it, whatever. You just can't. Possession is 9/10 of the law. So even if I never did any paperwork, my face has been there from day one, has always been there consistently in the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So you can't come and just claim it.
Right.
So and that's why
they need it.
And that's what it is. If you're a bad mother effer,
you don't need the name.
Just do your thing.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why it goes back to what I said. That's why I never said I'm gonna go do my solo.
Right.
This is my solo thing. Just come join me and have a party with me.
Right.
Because this is what I do. This is what I've done. This is what I believed in. This is what I created in my head. So it'd be crazy for me to say, okay, I'm gonna step away and build something for so many years and not utilize what I built.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So my foundation is there and my creativity is there, and some of the things that I came up with have been the guiding factor. And, so I bring them back in, bring them back out, bring them back in. It doesn't matter to me. Just let's make music, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We really like to make music. I know it's about money, and I know it's about, making sure that you don't get jerked in the end.
Right.
But I'm a fair dude. Even when I'm mad at people, bro, the one thing, I'll never forget it. We're in a hotel. I believe I was like in Italy. And we was in Spain. I was pissed off at somebody in the group. And, we had to come in and it was like, well, what happened? This, that, and the other. And then some paperwork I had to sign. And it was like, well, do you want to, so-and-so says we should just do this to them. I said, I don't think that's fair. I don't care how much I dislike what he did and how mad I am. The fair thing to do is this. Because later on, 10, 20 years from now, you ain't going to say, nah, because remember when you tried to do this to me.
Right.
So I said, he deserves a third, and he needs to get his third. Now, if you guys want to do something, just know that my vote is a third, and I'm taking my third.
Right.
So there's a third for him, and there's a third for him.
Right.
And they did whatever they did. You know what I'm saying? But my name was clear. And it was like, no, it's business. And I understood where they were coming from, but I know that it came up again, and my name was in dirt. So that was important.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we've done a couple of albums. We did 4 official albums as DLG. We've put out some singles, and they did well, and we made money from them, and we got accolades from them. But the most important thing was I was doing what I love to do, And what I was telling you is I wound up going back to school. I said, as soon as I get hot again, I want to go back to school. Mm-hmm. And I did that, and I wound up getting a degree in paramedicine. So I became a paramedic.
Right, I remember when you was going to
Yeah, it was hard as I don't know what. I was gigging on the weekends, and I was flying back to New York just to go to school. And my course instructor, the instructor of the whole program, his wife is Guatemalan. And he didn't believe me. He's like, man, what you doing? Some garage stuff? I was like, nah, man, really? I said, yo. And he's like, oh, my wife's Spanish. I said, tell her who I am. And if you don't believe me, and if it's true, you got to give me this break. I need Monday off because I'm flying in from Europe. He said, you got it. I'll never forget. I was flying out to the Grammys, and I'm in class. He was, you got a tux in your suitcase. I said, from class, I got to leave. I'm flying out to the Grammys, going to L.A. Grammys. They didn't believe me. They're like, what the hell are you doing here? And the best thing is that when I actually had to work on the field, because you have to put a certain amount of hours in,
Right.
guy has his appendix burst. He's like, oh my God. And he's staring at me. He goes, in Spanish, he says, you look like the guy from DLG. And my partner was a big fan. She was like, yes, that's him. I don't believe you. For real? He said, yeah, that's us. I said, yeah, it's me. And I'm helping him. You know, I don't want him to die on my watch.
Right.
And we get to the hospital. He's on the phone. By the time we got to the hospital, his family's there with cameras. Wow. The doctor says, I want a picture too. Right. He's like, why they taking pictures of him? He's like, no, he's a famous singer. Right. Yeah, famous singer. Yeah, I'm a famous singer. It's a funny thing. And these are the type of things that, as long as you pursue some of the things you want to pursue, and it starts with the barbering.
That's a good thing you said that, because I wanted to say, what happened to the barbering?
I'll tell you what happened to it. I still have my clippers. Still cut my brother's hair. I ran out of the house early, so I didn't have to cut his hair yesterday because I wasn't in the mood to cut. Still cut my son's hair. I remember when I was going through the school, and I was actually going through a divorce. You helped me out. Said, come on back down over here. And I was cutting hair because I needed a legitimate job for the paperwork.
Right.
Now that it's over, I can tell the truth, you know.
Right.
But I needed a legitimate job, and she was taking most of my money, and I wasn't gigging, and I was, and it helped me out. So it was always something, again, I could fall back on. And that's an artist's life, ups and downs, and knowing how to checks and balances it.
That's right.
And I could still cut hair. I almost taught one of your boys upstairs, outside in that. I almost taught him something. I was gonna give him a little.
Yeah, it's an innate thing that you always want to help somebody out if you see them doing it wrong.
Yeah, and then I still look at people when I go, I see them. I go, yo, who cut your hair, bro? I still do it because it's in you. Once the barber's in you, it's in you, and I can still cut and stuff. My sons took a lot of my equipment. I had to buy some more equipment. Right. But I still cut my cousin's hair.
And you kept the name, James the Barber.
James the Barber.
Even though you were doing music, and some people might shy away from what they were, what their profession was. And so what made you say, I'm going to keep that name, James the Barber? I'm
going to be honest with you. I wanted to. And he says, nah, man, that is you. My producer's like, that's your name, bro. Right. Don't run away from who you are. And it's funny because in Spanish countries, like, de barba, que eso? What is that? Yeah, what is that? Yeah. And I was like, no, barba, el barbero. Oh, you do hair. And it's funny because there's been shows where they had me cut people's hair. Wow. And it's just something, and I've always been proud of it because it's a very prolific skill and trade, and not everybody could do it. A lot of people could cut hair, but not everybody could do it good, Right. And, you lose skills here and there. You lose an eye here and there. But if you do it on a consistent basis, that's right, it'll just fall right back into place. That's right. And it's something you can get old doing, because old men are barbers and old men singing the quartet thing. And, so I've never closed under my doors, and I still keep my paramedic license. Actually, in New York State, we don't have license. We have certifications. Right. We're one of the few states that don't have it. And it was something that I dreamt about doing that since I was a little kid, So I said, I'm going to pursue it. And I graduated. I did my thing. And, I have that. And, from there, I've, the most important thing is, I wanted to make sure I say this, was that, even though I started out as a barber and so forth, and I had the mentality, I had my own shop, I kept that mentality, and I've always had that business mentality. You know that about me. Yes. And if I could give anybody any kind of, I don't even know, I'm drawing a blank here, but when you can give somebody like an advice, right, and give somebody some advice, is that when you do get to a position, we as black people don't like to teach our kids about investing money and saving money. saving money is not the right thing to do. You're supposed to save a certain percentage, but not save all your money. And, investing your money. And that's what I wound up doing. I wound up, investing in restaurants and bars. I owned a couple of those. I invested in real estate. I own a few properties. And I made sure that there was something for my kids. And if I don't gig, I still have an income coming in with all my investments, smart investments. Now I'm not going to, this guy has a toothpick holder, and I'm going to put my money behind it. And it was, stuff that, the restaurant bar was a little risky. It's cost me a couple of times, but now I have something that's formulating really well. And the real estate never, that doesn't die. Right. And I always like to tell people, even in barbering, because I've even spoken to a young lady. She doesn't even live in the city. I've been friends with her for years on Facebook. Never met her. And I gave her some advice that now that she's making money, because she was hurting a couple of years back. And I gave her some advice to start putting some money away to buy some. But I don't want, I'm too old to get a house. I said, well, get an apartment. Start off with buying an apartment and then, go from there. A lot of people don't realize that if you take small steps, slow nickels are better than fast quarters.
That's right.
And, she recently wound up doing it and wound up buying a shop, and she's doing her thing. She's really doing her thing, because I still look at people, a lot of the videos and stuff, and I try to keep up because, styles have changed. They stay the same, but they change. And kids like certain things. Like, we used to be real like, yo, don't give a bowl cut. Your fade is all the way high, but that's what the kids like now.
Right.
Where our levels were like, really wide, so you couldn't even see. They used to call it the Nas Queen fade, and I just know that I keep up on it, and that's how I wound up meeting the young lady and teaching her about investing money,
right,
and giving back to the community, because I gave back to the community tenfolds. I taught. That's what my original degree was in. It was in teaching, and I just feel like giving back and letting those seeds grow, because believe it or not, people say, oh well, I don't see why people give back to, but you know what? That's the people that are going to be around my kids and my grandkids. So I want my kids and my grandkids to be around positivity and growth. So if I can give my little 2 cents and my little knowledge or money towards something that's going to grow my community or my people, because it might sound clandestine, but African Americans and Caribbean, Latinos, so forth and so on are my people. And there's a lot of countries around the world that they stick together and they really become affluent economically, socially, because they stick together. Now, that's something I want to always say in my interviews, because everybody knows me from the hood. I gave health fairs. I had nonprofit organizations through sports, whether acting, music, or whatever. And I hope that whoever's listening, when you do become affluent with money, you please give back and, invest your money. So make sure your family's right first and then start investing outside. You can't give away if you're not right.
Right.
Because when you get on a plane, what they say, if the mask drops, what's the first thing you're supposed to do? Put your mask on first and then help others. Right. So help yourself and your family first, and then you're able to help other people,
So in closing,
we talked a lot.
I talked a lot. I'm sorry. It's all good. This is what we do. Tell people, how they can get in contact with you.
Okay. Google my name. No. So we have, like I said, the legalities. There's a lot of people that use the name, like DLG Nation, DLG New Generation, DLG. It's hard to miss my face. Sexy fat guy. You know what I'm saying? My Instagram is James the Barber. My Twitter is James the Barber. Snapchat is James the Barber. My Facebook is James the Barber. I've been managing and running the group for the last maybe 9-10 years. I have people, managers and booking agents, but it really comes through me.
Right.
I'm really in control of the situation, but I have no problem with, other people coming in and taking over the workload and sort of making some decisions, as long as they know that I have my ideas as far as how we should go business-wise and how we should go artistically.
Right.
But if you want to go through it, you can find me, James the Barber, but it's DABARBA, James the Barber. And you come see me and I speak to everybody. People
You're
don't
one
believe.
of the first the barber.
Yeah.
Everybody's the barber.
Right.
But you was the barber.
There's one guy that's the barber.
Yeah.
But there's no the barber.
Yeah. I've been cutting these heads for years. It made me a master. There's rules to the shit. To get money faster. A cut by cut booklet for you to get.